In 1992, 3 nurses at a New Mexico hospital informed doctors that they would no longer help circumcise baby boys. Within days, they were joined by more than 20 of their co-workers, all of whom objected to circumcision on ethical grounds. I went to Santa Fe to find out why the nurses opposed circumcision. What had they seen behind the closed doors of the circumcision room? What did they know that parents didn't know? What could they tell me about an event that I bear the scar of, yet cannot remember? Although circumcision is no longer considered medically necessary, close to 1 million baby boys are circumcised every year in the United States. Routine circumcision is not considered a valid medical procedure in most of the rest of the world. However, American doctors charge up to $250 for the surgery, which lasts about 15 minutes and is usually performed without anesthesia.
Some of the nurses at the hospital, I guess a couple of years ago, or several years ago, before I even came into the hospital, had been working against circumcisions and didn't want to participate in them. And then they decided to sign a petition. And when I heard about it, I said, oh, that's me. I'm going to sign it. I want to sign it because I don't want to be part of this. So I signed it along with the rest of the nurses that really were against it. But I really wasn't very vocal about it. I had started to have dreams about circumcision. It was a dark dream where I was like in a voided area, and I would be getting the baby ready for circumcision. I'd be putting him on the circ board, and he would start talking to me, but I couldn't hear him. And he would be saying, "What are you doing?" And then I would take him into this room, and then the doctor would come in and start doing the circumcision. And as he was going to start doing the circumcision, the baby would start screaming, "Stop. Please, what are you doing? Please stop. Make him stop." And I'd wake up and I'd be like, geez, what a horrible dream. And it started bothering me. I think it started bothering my soul. So when the petition came out, I felt I had to sign it because little bits of my soul were getting chipped away.
And after they're strapped down and tied, they're still screaming. The screaming lasts the entire time. And I don't know if you've ever heard a baby scream like that, but it's not a regular cry. It's not a cry of hunger or a cry of wanting to be hugged or a cry of having a wet diaper. This is a cry of incredible pain. And it goes right through your body. Every cell in your body just responds. And then the child is circumcised. There's 2 different ways of doing it. Sometimes anesthesia local will be used. For the most part, I've never seen a baby stop crying, even if that's given. A lot of times it's not used. More often than not, it's not used. And then a clamp goes over the baby's penis. And the foreskin is cut off. And just tossed in the garbage can.
And then the baby is taken out of the restraints. Then he would be picked up and put back in his crib and diapered and taken back to his mother.
It's unusual that a parent asks to come and watch a circumcision. I wish they did. I wish we invited them in. I feel like if they're going to have that done to their kid, they ought to have to at least be there. If nothing, to pick up the baby afterwards and comfort him when it's over. It's normal for parents to go with their child into the emergency room if the kid has to have stitches or something like that. It's normal for them to go with their baby in the doctor's office and hold the baby while they get their shots or whatever, any painful thing that's done. It's normal for the parent to be there, both to see what happens, to know that it's all right, to give approval to what's going on, and to comfort their child during and afterwards. I think it ought to be the same thing for circumcision. Circumcision is the only procedure that we do to little children without their parents' presence and support. It's crazy, you know, and that's part of how you know it's crazy, is that there are all these things about it that are unusual. It doesn't happen the way surgery normally happens. People don't give informed consent the way they normally give for surgery. The parents aren't there the way they normally are when we do things for children. It's just not right. And when events happen and they're happening in secrecy and people are ignorant about it and it's all hush hush, those things are usually crazy. They're usually happening for some reason other than the stated reason. The stated benefit. It's usually something much deeper and more important than that.
One of the doctors cautioned us against saying, poor baby, that it was very upsetting to the mothers if you brought a baby back to her after having been circumcised and were going, poor baby, you know, patting the baby, saying, poor baby, which is a normal thing to do to a baby that's crying. You know, if a baby has lab work done, you know, you pick it up and say, oh, poor baby. If the baby has any other painful thing that happens, you pick it up and comfort the baby and say, oh, poor baby, pobrecito, or something like that. So it's okay to do that with anything else that hurts the baby, but you can't do it with a circumcised baby because that will make the mother feel guilty and upset her. So I don't know what you're supposed to say. You're a man now. This is for your own good. You're cleaner now.
If you saw a newborn baby, if you saw a birth, and very often, you know, the mother is crying and the father is crying, tears of joy, how beautiful the baby is. And if you were the one wiping the baby off, wrapping the baby up, putting a hat on the baby's head, giving the baby to the parents, if you saw a baby, how beautiful a baby is, perfect. And then if you saw a circumcision the very next day of the same perfect baby, I think what we're doing, it's not radical at all. It's just, it's common sense. It's sanity. It's sanity what we're doing. And circumcising a baby, slicing off a part of the little boy's genital organs and throwing it in the trash, that's sick.
In my opinion, this is an abuse. It's not, there is not enough information out there to convince me that this is medically necessary. And just as I can read through the Old Testament of the Bible and stoning women to death because they committed adultery, I see as abusive. This ancient covenant I look at it and say, well, the human race has done all kinds of things and thought it was the best thing at the time. And in retrospect, we can look back and go, blood sacrifice of human beings? This is not right. This is not morally right. This is not ethical. And especially when you're taking someone who has not consented. Parents can consent all they want. This does not mean the child has consented to this.
You know, I have 2 sons. My first son is 16. He's not circumcised. And I've talked to him about this whole issue as it's come on in the last 10 years. And he looks at me so puzzled. Like, why would somebody want to do that? You know? And as he's grown up and coming into his own, he's more repulsed by the fact that people do that to one another. He's actually the only male that I know, you know, on a more familiar basis, that is not circumcised. My second son is circumcised. I wish I could take that back. I really do. If there was only one thing I could take back and redo, that would be it. I can't.
Want to show me what you have in your pocket?
Yeah. See what I have in my pocket. Okay, this is something I dug out of the trash a few hours ago. This is a neonatal foreskin. It's probably stuck, but you can see how. So, there it is, tiny little piece of skin.
I remember in nursing school, I refused to observe electric shock therapy. I went in once. I was horrified. I couldn't believe this was, it's like, oh, but there's such benefits, da, 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 and it's like, I don't care. I don't care. What I'm seeing is brutalizing to me. If it's brutalizing to me on some level, it's brutalizing to this person. And that's what circumcision feels like to me.
I wish more people understood that. It's not like we just up and decided casually one day not to do what we'd always done. That it was for real reasons, important reasons, and that other people need to think about it too. You know, this is a sign that really steady, ordinary people like me are taking a stand like this. This should be a sign for other people that they need to look into it and see what's going on.
I think I'm carrying on Jewish traditions in this work that I'm doing against circumcision, and that I think that our son will get something from these traditions. And one tradition that I think I'm carrying on that's a Jewish tradition, I think it's a Jewish tradition to be very thoughtful and not just to do things, but to think about things. And I think that's something that I've been doing with this, and that's a tradition that I think our son will inherit from me.
We don't circumcise females. And they're newborns too. I've heard about it in other countries. If time was just taken to educate people, none of this is necessary at all. I mean, I was brought up just like everybody else in this country, thinking that's what you had to do. I've never known a male that was not circumcised. It's outrageous. There's something very wrong in that. In this big land of America where everything's possible. Doctors have the ability to educate and stop circumcisions. They could do it any day they chose.
I just hope in the future that people all over the world will think about what they're doing. I mean, really think about what they're doing before they do it. Because this is a little tiny baby that they're doing this to. And I don't know, they need to think about that. It's a pure little, if you want to call it angelic, that's what I'm calling it. Angelic baby, because he doesn't have any good or bad in him. It's a beautiful baby. And they need to look at the baby for what it is and for what every part of your body is there for. It's there for a reason.
Next, a portion of the plastic bell handle is removed, and at this point we trim the foreskin near the stone that was placed to mark the proper location.